Another Fisherman's Tale is lovely. I love it. This, just like its predecessor, makes the absolute most of the VR medium and delivers a tale that can only be told through a headset. Gameplay-wise, you play as a model fisherman who has the ability to launch his hands in order to grab various objects and devices, and to launch your head to get a different angle or unlock a device or two. There are several hands that offer different capabilities, allowing you to progress through the story and world. These unique additions lead to some clever, flat-out fun puzzles. You are the puzzle. Having to throw your hand into some air vent and then control it like an RC car and then shoot your head to see where you have to take it next is a really weird, cool, bizarre, out-of-body experience. You can see your entire body in the third person when you launch your head and control it from a different angle. You can even throw your hands from that point and then launch them across the map. It's an otherworldly puzzling experience. It does require some coordination at first, for sure though. It's just not natural to control your body from a perspective that, isn't from your body, in a three-dimensional space that is. But over time, I grew completely used to it and got accustomed to that out-of-body experience. I also grew much better at controlling my hands across the terrain and grew a new coordination for it. Now these are some fantastic gameplay tools. They can enable some wonderful puzzles. But do they? Yeah, for the most part, they absolutely do. There are some just neat, cool, surreal puzzles in this game. I really don't want to spoil anything, but I will say there's just this one scene in the latter half of the game that was a total wow moment for me. It was dreamlike and surreal. It's just surreal, and I loved it. The puzzles aren't too difficult at all, at least for me. I'm decent at puzzlers. I love the hell out of them, but I'm also the kind of guy who just looks up the solution after 10 minutes instead of being stumped in the same spot, and I get stumped a lot, but I never once felt that urge here. I quickly had a full grasp on the game's unique mechanics, so everything sort of clicked on what I needed to do, right away. There were a couple moments where I was stuck for a good few minutes, but I always figured it out. Some of my favorite puzzles invoked a feeling of, oh, that makes total sense. It all clicked pretty quickly, but it was still a blast throughout. Now, the game was never boring at all. It was well paced with a great diversity. One moment you'll be hook climbing up a mountain, then you'll be controlling a huge crane with your very own hand. Something I love about this game is, at its heart, it's intuitive with its puzzles. It presents this world with this set of physics and controls and develops from there. The gameplay all makes sense within these set confines, and it takes near full advantage of these tools. Now, although one main criticism with A Fisherman's Tale, which is this game's predecessor from 2019, is that it was too short. Coming in at about an hour and a half, many people wanted a longer, more fleshed out experience. That short length didn't stop me from falling in love with the game, but I of course echoed these sentiments in hopes for a much longer game. In another Fisherman's Tale, the sequel to that, they promised a 5 to 6 hour game experience. Having played through its entirety, I do have to say it took me a little over 3 hours. I wasn't going slow at all, but I also wasn't rushing. I'm not sure if I'm a bit of an anomaly in this regard, but I will say to expect probably a relatively similar playtime, perhaps maybe around 4 hours. So that could be disheartening for someone who wants a more lengthy full campaign, but I gotta say, this game is again very well paced. Every puzzle, every sequence, it's purposeful. There's no fluff whatsoever. It is a dense experience, and for me, I kinda liked that. There was more than enough time for the game to feel meaningful and full, and for it to explore and flesh out its mechanics. Of course, I would have wanted more. I always want more when I play a really good game like this, but it did its concept justice, and that is all that matters to me. So it really depends on what kind of game you are looking for. Okay, alright, now by far, my favorite thing about this game is its story. The game's divided into 5 chapters, and without giving too much away at all, it follows you, the model fisherman Bob, searching for the famed Libertalia, the land of true freedom. And that's all I'm going to say, because starting the latter half of the game, particularly chapters 4 and 5, the game's story and gameplay intertwine in a wondrous experience. I loved the story. I particularly loved the ending. It's one of my favorite endings to any game, and actually what happens is, so, in total, this is a game with simple yet mostly clever puzzles, very unique game mechanics that take full advantage of VR, and a dynamite story that's just brilliantly written and brilliantly executed with some of the best voice acting you'll find. In spite of its relatively short length, I really liked this game, and if you see the trailer and you think it might be up your alley, then definitely check it out because it has some epic sequences and epic stuff going on, and it's just awesome. I really don't want to spoil anything else though, but just trust me, it has some cool stuff in it. One last thing I want to mention is that I played this game on the PSVR 2. The game has absolutely no reprojection effect, and so I can only assume it's running at 90 Hz, which I cannot express how thankful I am about that. I despise reprojection in titles such as Horizon Call of the Mountain and RD8. Now, the visuals aren't necessarily as crisp as other PSVR 2 titles that were designed natively for the system, because while it's clear, there are still visually some moments where it seems like this was designed specifically for the Quest 2 in mind and then upscaled from there. That being said, it still looks good, and in some cases, it looks great. For me, the PSVR 2 has been my platform of choice over the past couple of months, so that's where I chose to play this game, but I'm sure you're going to get a very similar experience if you were to play it on, let's say, the Quest 2. And finally, a huge thank you to Vertigo Games for supplying me with a free review key for this game. Did not impact my opinion in any way, but it did give me a great opportunity to play this great game as quickly as I could.